What's up, guys? Tom from Quirky Homebrew here today. How y'all doing? Happy Friday. It's Friday, it's the weekend. So today we're gonna make some mead, and I'm gonna make some Vikings blood mead. If you ever had that before, it's really cool stuff. Deep red, ruby color, usually uses a little bit of cherry, hibiscus, sometimes a little hops if you're feeling crazy. But Vikings blood is a really cool mead, and it's not as hard as you think. So we're gonna make some today. I've got all the ingredients listed out here, and we're gonna go through it together. So our honey choice, I've had some honey steeping over here in some hot water just to get it flowing, get it moving. This is Clark Farm honey from our local brand. It's actually a mixture of blueberry, raspberry, honey. They don't label these ones because they're special. This is blueberry, raspberry, honey. They send their bees out to California during the winter out here in Colorado, and the bees keep working, they're busy. And so they pollinate blueberry, raspberry fields, and when the bees come back, they can accurately say this is blueberry, raspberry, honey. Really interesting thing the bees do, they find one food source, they stick to it. So this honey has a really cool flavor from there. But first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna make the hibiscus portion of our mead. So we're gonna take 1 ounce of dried hibiscus flowers. You can get these here in the store. I've got a small steeping bag, and we're gonna make a tea. So in this electric kettle here on the side, I've got 1,000 milliliters of hot water. Let's take our hibiscus, and you can use any kind of steeping bag you've got. I'm using one of the disposable muslin style bags we have here in the store. Let's put it in here. Previously, I put 1,000 milliliters of hot water into this kettle, and it just came up to a boil before I started the video. So this is about 190, 200 degree Fahrenheit. We're gonna pour it in here, and it's gonna steep for 3 minutes, okay? So, got our timer. Let's go. Set that mark. So we're gonna let this sit for 3 minutes. I'll be right back. All right, we're back after our 3 minutes. Look at this. Hibiscus has this really interesting cranberry, cherry, red fruit flavor. Super interesting all by itself. But this has been steeping for a few minutes. Amazing color, amazing smell. I took the bag out just now. All right, so what is next? We've got our 2-gallon primary fermenter that I've got down here. I do have a little bit of sanitizer in here. I've sanitized it previously to starting, but we're gonna spray it down again just because I never have to use Star San. So I'm using Star San right now. If you use metabisulfite or iodophor or any other great food grade sanitizer, keep using it, it's fine. But I like Star San. So got a little bit in there, spray it down, shake it up, pour off the excess. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do, it's honey. It's been steeping here on the side. It's nice and warm, it's flowing now, it's easy to pour. Let's open this guy up. So, this is gonna go into the bottom of our fermenter. So notice though, there's still plenty of honey inside this jar. So don't worry, forget it. So, got that in there. We're gonna take now 2.5 liters of cool filtered water. We're gonna add the entire thing. Then we're gonna add 1 gram of Fermade K and 1 gram of diammonium phosphate, also known as DAP, DAP. And so the combination of these 2 nutrients are gonna provide the free amino acids, protein, nitrogen, trace minerals, all the stuff your mead needs to ferment and to do its job and to make some really excellent honey. So, nutrients are incredibly important for making mead. We're gonna add these 2 right now. I'm gonna come back in a couple of days, we're gonna add some more. But for today, we're doing just 1 gram each, Fermade K and DAP. That goes in there. Okay. Got my sanitized paddle, been sitting here waiting, and some fresh sanitizer on the side. Let's make this up. Just want to break up any clumps, make sure it's all dissolved evenly. That's fine. knock it off. Back in center sand. All right, the honey in here though. Our warm hibiscus water. We're gonna take this, pour a little bit into your jar. Obviously, this works a lot better in a glass jar. Okay. Pour that back in. A little bit left. That's why I saved some. Put the cap on it. Back in there. Boom. Boom. That's a little warm. Take our sanitized paddle. We're gonna mix that up really well. And so, when you're making mead, using the proper nutrient is incredibly important because mead primarily is just honey. Honey is just sugar. For yeast to properly ferment, recreate, make alcohol, they need lots of other little things like certain nutrients like zinc and copper, certain nutrients like free amino acids and proteins. So using the Fermate K and DAP, which you both sell here in the store, just little bits of each. Those two ingredients are the linchpin to helping this honey wine turn into an amazing, delicious, alcoholic honey wine in the end. It's already smelling so good. Clark's Farm honey is amazing stuff. It's raw, local honey. They filter it just enough to remove the particulate and the little stuff that's in there, but it is basically a raw honey. And this is what you would call like a no heat or a low heat method of making mead, whereas we're trying to be very, very sanitary with all our processes, but the honey itself is not getting pasteurized. We want to retain all of those wonderful flavors, delicate aromas, intricacies that make honey wine just so interesting and so cool. Okay, so I mentioned that we're going to be using berries in this mead. I've actually got a pound of frozen blackberries at home that I picked from my personal yard, and that's what we're going to use to make our version of Viking's Blood. And traditionally it's cherries, but you know what? Whatever. I don't have cherry trees. Druid's blood. Whatever you want to call it. It'll be great. Okay, last thing I have not talked about yet. Yeast choice. So, for this particular mead, I am using the Lalden 7-1B dried wine yeast. This yeast particularly is better for fresh fruit wines and wines that are a little bit more acidic. And so with the combination of the hibiscus and the blackberries, it's going to be a little bit more acidic in here. But the 7-1B is really, really good with malic acid. So it ferments malic acid very well and helps reduce your overall acidity while still leaving a little residual sugar and a lot of the character from our ingredients. So I've got 2 grams of 7-1B yeast measured out here. But first things first, feels a little warm. Let's check it. Got an instant read thermometer. And you know what? My mead is reading 103 degrees. This is a little too warm. So we're gonna let this cool down. We're gonna put the lid back on. Get our airlock, stick that in there. We're gonna let it sit for a couple hours because this is too hot. We put our yeast in right now, this would make some really weird tasting mead. Could get a little off flavory, could get a little hot alcohol, harsh. So instead of adding it now, let's let this cool down a little bit on its own. We'll come back. So I'm gonna meet you guys back in a little bit when this cools down. All right, we're back. It's been a little bit of time. Mead's cooled down a little bit. Let's check it again. Let's check our mead. Okay, so it has gone a lot lower. So now we're looking at about 72 degrees. This is perfect to get started. Okay, so in general, there's not a specific temperature we're shooting for right now, but we want our mead to be around room temperature, somewhere between 70 and 75. It's a little bit cooler, that's totally fine. But our mead likes at the same temperature that we do in terms of humans. So 70 to 80 degrees, very good. This particular yeast we're using today, the 7-1B, this one has a temperature range that's a little bit broader, from about 60 degrees Fahrenheit up to around 85 degrees Fahrenheit. In general with yeast, the warmer the temperature, the more flavor you're going to get from the yeast. So if we go a little bit cooler, a little bit closer to 70 degrees, we're going to be a little bit more neutral. If you go warmer, you'll get more yeast flavor. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. In this case, it's more of a bad thing. So as long as your room temperature is somewhere between 70 and 80 degrees, you're fine. You're good to go. So this temperature is great. Let's get our yeast that's in this cup here and our sanitized stirring wand. I'm just going to sprinkle this in. There are some people who actually rehydrate their yeast ahead of time. That's a little bit more advanced. Maybe we'll do it in a future video. But for today, I am just going to sprinkle in right on top. And let's put our airlock and lid back on, nice and secure. And then I am going to go find a cool, dark place in the store to put this. And we'll come back in a couple of days. So we've got our honey, we've got our hibiscus tea, we've got some nutrient, and that's about it. We're done. I don't have anything else to do. It's that simple. So you can use this exact same procedure to make any kind of mead. What we're making today is kind of a hybrid of a methylglyn and a melomel. So a herb-based mead and a fruit-based mead. Melomel is fruit-based. I'm pronouncing it wrong, but methylglyn is a herb-based mead. So the herbs are the hibiscus, and the fruit is the blackberries that I'm going to add later. This is going to ferment for about 3 to 4 days. I'm going to see you guys next week. We're going to come back. We're going to add a little bit more nutrient. We're doing a staggered addition of nutrient. So first edition, and then a second and a third edition. When I add that second edition, I'm going to add the blackberries then. And we're going to take a peek at what's going on, talk about the progress, give a smell, and next steps. This method, like I mentioned, you can make any kind of mead. You want to make peach mead, you want to make cherry mead, you want to make pineapple mead, you can do it. Pumpkin spice mead. Honey wine is so fun to play with because there's just so many options. We've got tons of spices here in the store. Got a lot of mint in your yard. You want to make a mint-based mead? Try it out. Vanilla mead, apricot mead, coconut. There's so many options because it's very easy palette to play with and to have fun and experiment. That's what homebrewing is all about, right? Just doing what you want to do, experimenting and having fun, and then sharing with other people. That's always good too. So I will see you guys in a few days. We'll come back, we'll take a peek, see how this is going. We'll give a little update. We're gonna add the fruit next, and then we'll go from there. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in a couple days.